Jake Morrison wiped the sweat from his face as he walked through the dark hallway. The lights in Level 7 had been broken for months. Nobody cared about this part of the space station anymore. They said it was shut down, but Jake still had to. Check the pipes and wires down here. His boots made loud sounds on the metal floor. The station was quiet during the night shift. Most people were sleeping. Jake liked it this way. No one bothered him while he worked. He stopped when he heard something strange. It sounded like crying, but not human crying. Jake had been a soldier before he became a maintenance worker. He knew different kinds of sounds. This was something else. The sound came from behind a wall that should not have a room behind it. Jake looked at his station map. According to the computer, there was nothing there, just empty space. But the sound kept coming. Jake found a small door hidden behind some old equipment. The door was locked with a code lock. This was strange. Why would an empty room need a lock? He used his maintenance tools to open the door. The lock was old and easy to break. Jake pushed the door open slowly. Cold air hit his face. The room was much colder than the rest of the station. Jake turned on his flashlight and looked inside. What he saw made him stop breathing. There was a cage in the middle of the room. Inside the cage sat a creature Jake had never seen before. It looked like a person, but with green and brown scales instead of skin. The creature was thin, too thin. Its scales were dull and dry. The creature held something small in its arms. A baby. The baby creature was even thinner than its mother. Both of them looked sick and weak. The mother creature looked up at Jake. Her eyes were large and yellow like a cat's eyes. They were full of fear. She pulled her baby closer to her chest and made a low sound. Jake's hands shook as he pointed. His light around the room. There were machines everywhere, computers, cameras, and equipment he did not recognize. This was not just a storage room. This was a laboratory. On one wall, Jake saw papers and charts. They had pictures of the creature and lots of numbers. One paper said Subject 7 Alpha at the top. Another paper showed the baby and said Subject 7 Beta. Jake felt sick. These were not subjects. They were people. A mother and her child. He walked closer to the cage. The mother creature pressed herself against the back of the cage. She was trying to protect her baby. Jake could see that she was very afraid. "It's okay," Jake said softly. "I won't hurt you." The creature did not understand his words, but something in his voice made her stop shaking. Jake knelt down so he was at the same level as the cage. He looked at the lock on the cage door. It was electronic and very strong. Jake knew he could not break it with his tools. He would need the right code. The baby creature made a weak sound. It was very small and did not move much. Jake could see that it was sick. Both the mother and baby needed help soon, or they would die. Jake stood up and looked around the room again. He found a computer that was still running. The screen showed video feeds from cameras in the cage. There were also files with dates, going back 2 years, 2 years. These creatures had been trapped here for 2 years. Jake opened one of the video files. It showed the same room, but the mother creature looked different. Her scales were bright and healthy. She was not alone. There was another adult creature with her, bigger and stronger. Jake watched as people in white coats came into the room. They took the bigger creature away. The mother creature fought and screamed, but she could not stop them. After that, she was alone with her baby. Jake felt angry, very angry. He had been a soldier, he had fought in wars, but he had never seen anything as cruel as this. He checked more files on the computer. The creatures were called Veltar. They came from a planet far away. The report said they were captured during a battle. The bigger creature, the father, was listed as died during transport. But Jake found another file that told a different story. The father creature had been killed on purpose. Someone had decided that 2 creatures were harder to control than one. The mother creature was watching Jake as he read. She seemed to understand that he was learning about her. Her yellow eyes followed him as he moved around the room. Jake found papers with a name on them. Dr. Alex Reed. This doctor was in charge of the experiments. The papers showed that Dr. Reed was testing the creatures to see how their bodies worked. He wanted to learn about their abilities. The Veltar creatures could do something special with energy. They could make electricity move in ways that humans could not. Dr. Reed thought this could be used as a weapon. Jake looked back at the mother creature. She was still watching him. Her baby was sleeping in her arms, but its breathing was very shallow. Jake made a decision. He could not let these creatures die in this cage. He did not care about rules or orders. This was wrong, and he had to do something about it. But he had to be smart. If Dr. Reed found out that someone knew about the creatures, he might kill them to hide his secret. Jake needed a plan. He knelt down by the cage again. The mother creature looked at him with those large yellow eyes. "I'm going to help you," Jake said quietly. "I don't know how yet, but I'm going to get you out of here." The creature tilted her head. She did not understand the words, but she seemed to understand something. Maybe she could hear the promise in his voice. Jake stood up and looked around the room one more time. He needed to remember everything. He took pictures with his work tablet, making sure to be quiet. Before he left, he looked at the mother creature one more time. She was still watching him. Jake put his hand on the cage, close to where she sat. After a moment, she slowly reached out and touched the cage bars near his hand. It was a small gesture, but it meant everything. She was willing to trust him. Jake left the hidden room and closed the door carefully. He made sure everything looked the same as when he found it. Then he walked back through the dark hallways to finish his shift. But his mind was not on his work anymore. All he could think about was the yellow eyes of a mother trying to protect her dying child. By morning, Jake Morrison was no longer just a maintenance worker. He was a man with a mission. He was going to save 2 lives, even if it cost him everything. Jake could not sleep after his shift ended. Every time he closed his eyes, he saw the yellow eyes of the mother creature. He thought about her baby, so small and weak. He had to do something, but he needed to be careful. The next night, Jake went back to level 7. He brought food with him this time. Not regular human food, but nutrition bars that were supposed to work for any living thing. The military used them on planets with different kinds of life. When he opened the hidden door, the mother creature looked up quickly. She remembered him. Jake could see that she was even thinner than before. Her baby barely moved at all. Jake opened one of the nutrition bars and slid it through the cage bars. The mother creature sniffed it carefully. She was very hungry, but she was also careful. She had learned not to trust easily. After a long minute, she took a small bite. Her eyes grew wide. The nutrition bar tasted good, much better than whatever they had been feeding her. She ate quickly, then saved half for her baby. Jake watched as she softened the food with water from a small bowl in the cage. She fed her baby very gently. The baby creature made small, happy sounds as it ate. "You're a good mother," Jake said, quietly. The creature looked at him. She pointed to herself and made a sound that sounded like Zara. Then she pointed to her baby and made another sound like Ket. Jake pointed to himself. "Jake," he said. Zara repeated his name, but it came out different with her voice. "Jack," she said. Jake smiled. It was the first time anyone had learned his name in months. Most people on the station just called him maintenance or, "Hey you." Jake came back the next night with more food. This time he also brought a small medical kit. He could see that Ket was getting sicker. The little creature's breathing was getting worse. Jake showed the medical scanner to Zara. She was afraid at first, but Jake moved slowly and spoke softly. He scanned Ket while Zara held the baby close. The scanner showed things that worried Jake. Ket's body was missing important minerals. The baby was slowly dying from lack of proper food. Jake looked at the scanner results. He was not a doctor, but he had basic medical training from the military. He knew that Ket needed special supplements, the kind that were made for alien biology. The problem was that these supplements were expensive and hard to get. Jake would have to find a way to get them without anyone asking questions. The next day, Jake went to the medical bay during his break. He told Nurse Kelly Adams that he was feeling tired and needed vitamins. Kelly was a kind woman who always tried to help the workers. "You look terrible, Jake," Kelly said. "When was the last time you slept properly?" "Not much lately," Jake said. "I've been having bad dreams." Kelly gave him some standard vitamins, but Jake saw where she kept the special supplements. The alien biology supplements were in a locked cabinet. Jake would need Kelly's help to get them. That night, Jake brought the vitamins to Zara. She looked at them carefully, then shook her head. She pointed to Ket and made sounds that seemed worried. Jake understood. The human vitamins would not help Ket. The baby needed something different. Jake had an idea. He took out his work tablet and showed Zara some simple pictures. He drew a picture of Ket, then drew the baby looking healthy and strong. Then he drew a picture of medicine. Zara looked at the pictures for a long time. Then she took the tablet and drew something herself. It was a plant with strange leaves. She pointed to the plant, then to Ket. Jake realized that Zara was showing him what Ket needed. The plant probably grew on the Veltar homeworld. Jake would have to find something similar. Over the next few nights, Jake and Zara began to communicate better. Jake brought more pictures on his tablet. Zara learned to draw things to show Jake what she meant. Jake learned that Zara was not just any Veltar. She was an engineer, like him. She showed him drawings of machines and energy systems that were far more advanced than anything humans had built. Zara also showed Jake that she could do something amazing with electricity. When she touched the metal bars of her cage, small sparks of light danced around her fingers. She could control energy in ways that Jake had never seen, but using her powers made Zara weaker. Jake could see that every time she made the lights dance, she became more tired. She was already weak from 2 years of imprisonment. One night, Jake brought his electronic repair kit with him. He showed Zara the tools and the broken devices he was supposed to fix. Zara's eyes lit up with interest. She took one of the broken devices and looked at it carefully. Even though her hands were weak, she worked on it with great skill. In just a few minutes, she had fixed something that would have taken Jake an hour. But more than that, Zara had made the device work better than it ever had before. She had used her understanding of energy to improve the design. Jake stared at the device. "You're not just smart," he said. "You're brilliant." Zara seemed to understand the amazement in his voice. For the first time since Jake had found her, she almost smiled. That night, Jake made another important decision. He could not save Zara and Ket alone. He needed help from someone he could trust. The next day, Jake waited for Kelly Adams after her shift. He followed her to the cafeteria where she always had coffee before going to bed. "Kelly," Jake said, sitting down across from her. "I need to tell you something important, but you have to promise not to tell anyone else." Kelly looked worried. "Jake, you're scaring me. What's wrong?" "I found something on level 7, Jake said. "Something that Dr. Reed has been hiding." Jake told Kelly everything. He showed her the pictures he had taken with his tablet. Kelly's face went white when she saw the images of Zara and Ket in the cage. "This can't be real," Kelly whispered. "This is murder. This is torture." "It's been going on for 2 years, Jake said. "The baby is dying, Kelly. I need those alien supplements from the medical bay." Kelly was quiet for a long time. Jake could see that she was thinking hard about what he had told her. Finally, Kelly looked up at Jake. "Show me," she said. "I need to see this with my own eyes." That night, Kelly came with Jake to level 7. When she saw Zara and Ket, she started to cry. "How could anyone do this?" Kelly said. "They're just a mother and child." Kelly knelt down by the cage and looked at Ket. Her medical training told her immediately how sick the baby was. "We need to get him proper treatment right away," Kelly said. "He won't last another week without the right supplements." Kelly opened her medical bag and took out a scanner. She checked both Zara and Ket carefully. The results were even worse than Jake had feared. "They're both dying slowly," Kelly said. "Whoever did this wanted to keep them alive, but just barely. They've been getting just enough food and water to survive, but not enough to be healthy." Kelly looked at Jake with anger in her eyes. "We have to do something about this. We have to save them." From that night on, Kelly came with Jake to visit Zara and Ket. She brought the right medicines and supplements. She also brought better food that would help them get stronger. Slowly, Ket began to get better. The baby started moving more and making more sounds. Zara also became stronger, though she was still very weak. But the most important change was that Zara began to trust them both. She learned some simple English words. She taught Jake and Kelly some Veltar words too. One night, Zara made something amazing for Ket. She used her energy powers to make a small toy from pieces of metal in the cage. The toy glowed with soft light and made gentle sounds. Ket played with the toy happily. It was the first time Jake had seen the baby truly happy. It was also the first time he had seen Zara look proud instead of afraid. "We have to get them out of here," Kelly said as they watched Zara and Ket play with the glowing toy. Jake nodded. He had been thinking the same thing. But how could they free 2 alien prisoners from a secure research station without getting caught? Jake had an idea, but it would be very dangerous. He would need help from an old friend, someone he had not talked to in years. That night, Jake sent a coded message across space to a freight ship called the Northern Star. The message was addressed to Captain Pete Walsh, Jake's old army buddy. The message was simple. "Pete, I need your help. Lives depend on it. Can you make a delivery run to Meridian's Edge Station? Jake." 3 days later, Jake got a reply. "On my way. This better not be about gambling debts. Pete." Jake smiled as he read the message. Pete was coming. Now Jake had to figure out how to get 2 alien prisoners off a secure space station and onto Pete's ship without anyone noticing. It seemed impossible. But as Jake watched Zara gently singing a lullaby to Ket in her own language, he knew he had to try. Some things were worth any risk. Pete Walsh's ship arrived at the station 3 days later. Jake watched from a window as the Northern Star docked with the freight bay. It was a small cargo ship, old but well-maintained. Pete had been using it to carry supplies between the outer worlds for 5 years now. Jake met Pete at the docking bay during his break. His old friend looked the same as always, tall, tough, with gray hair and suspicious eyes. Pete had learned not to trust people easily during their years as soldiers. "You look like hell, Jake," Pete said as they shook hands. "What kind of trouble are you in this time?" "The worst kind," Jake said. "The kind where innocent people die if we don't do something." They went to Pete's ship to talk privately. Jake told Pete everything about Zara and Ket. He showed Pete the pictures and videos he had recorded. Pete listened without saying anything. When Jake finished talking, Pete was quiet for a long time. "You're asking me to help you steal prisoners from a research station," Pete said finally. "Do you know what they do to people who steal government property?" "They're not property," Jake said. "They're people, a mother and her child." "Alien people," Pete said. "That makes it worse, not better. They'll call it treason." Jake looked his old friend in the eyes. "Pete, you've seen wars. You know what evil looks like. This is evil. If we don't help them, they'll die in that cage." Pete sighed and rubbed his face with his hands. "How sick is the baby?" "Very sick. Kelly says he might not survive another month without proper treatment." "And the mother?" "She's stronger now, but still weak." "Pete, she's brilliant. She's an engineer, like me. She fixed one of my devices in minutes, made it work better than new." Pete looked at the pictures again. He stared at the image of Ket sleeping in Zara's arms. "Damn it, Jake," Pete said. "You know I can't say no to you. Not when you get that look in your eyes." Jake felt relief flood through him. "Thank you, Pete." "Don't thank me yet. How exactly do you plan to get them off this station without every security guard in the system chasing us?" Jake had been thinking about this problem for days. "I have some ideas, but I need to talk to someone else first." The someone else was Dr. Maya Soto. Jake had been watching the station's research staff for weeks, trying to figure out who could be trusted. Maya was different from the other scientists. She actually cared about the alien life forms they studied. Jake found Maya in the biology lab late one evening. She was alone, working on tissue samples from some creature Jake didn't recognize. "Dr. Soto?" Jake said from the doorway. Maya looked up, surprised. "Oh, you're maintenance, right? Is there a problem with the equipment?" "No, ma'am. I need to talk to you about something important." Something about Dr. Reed's research. Maya's face became very serious. What about Dr. Reed's research? Jake closed the lab door behind him. I know about the Veltar prisoners on level 7. Maya went completely still. For a moment, Jake thought she might call security. Then she said very quietly, "What prisoners?" Jake told Maya everything. He showed her the pictures and explained about Zara and Ket. Maya's face grew more and more angry as she listened. I knew something was wrong, Maya said when Jake finished. Reed's been producing research data that doesn't match anything I know about alien biology. The energy readings, the genetic information, it all seemed too detailed, too specific. You suspected he had live subjects? I suspected he was lying about his data sources. But this... Maya looked at the pictures again. This is monstrous. How long have they been imprisoned? 2 years, since the border conflict at Kepler 442b. Maya stood up and started pacing around the lab. The report said all the Veltar in that area were killed in the fighting. If Reed has been keeping prisoners, he killed the father, Jake said. Made it look like he died during transport. Maya stopped pacing. We have to report this to Captain Harper immediately. No, Jake said quickly. If we go through official channels, Reed will find out. He'll destroy the evidence and kill Zara and Ket to cover his tracks. Then what do you suggest? Jake explained his plan. It was dangerous and complicated, but it was the only way to get Zara and Ket off the station alive. Maya listened carefully. When Jake finished, she was quiet for a long time. You're asking me to commit treason, Maya said finally. I'm asking you to save 2 lives. Maya looked at the pictures one more time. She focused on the image of Ket, so small and fragile in his mother's arms. What do you need me to do? The plan was simple in theory, but very difficult to execute. Pete's ship would dock for a regular supply run. During the loading process, Jake would bring Zara and Ket through the maintenance tunnels to the cargo bay, but they would need a distraction to avoid the security cameras and guards. That's where Zara's powers would be crucial. She could cause electrical problems throughout the station, making it look like a normal system failure. The security cameras would go offline, and the guards would be busy dealing with the power problems. But using her powers would make Zara very weak. She might not have enough strength left to make the journey through the tunnels. Kelly had a solution for that problem. She had been working on a portable life support device, something that could keep Zara stable during the escape. Maya's job was to create false documentation that would explain why Pete's ship was leaving early. She would also prepare evidence of Reed's crimes to present to Captain Harper after the escape was complete. They had 1 week to get everything ready. Pete's ship was scheduled to make another supply run in 7 days. During that week, Jake spent more time with Zara, teaching her about the escape plan. Zara was smart and learned quickly. She understood that this was their only chance. Zara also taught Jake more about Veltar abilities. She showed him how to build simple devices that could work with her energy powers. Together, they created tools that would help during the escape. Ket was getting stronger every day thanks to Kelly's treatment. The baby was still weak, but he was no longer dying. That gave Jake hope that both mother and child could survive the escape. 3 days before the planned escape, something went wrong. Dr. Reed showed up on level 7 for an unexpected inspection. Jake was in the hidden room when he heard voices in the corridor outside. He quickly turned off his flashlight and hid behind some equipment. Reed entered the room with 2 assistants. He looked at Zara and Ket with cold, clinical eyes. The subjects appear healthier than they should be, Reed said. Have you increased their food rations? One assistant checked his notes. No, sir. Same rations as always. Reed frowned. Run a full health scan. I want to know why they look stronger. Jake's heart pounded as he watched the assistants set up scanning equipment. If they discovered that Zara and Ket had been receiving medical treatment, Reed would know someone was helping them. The scan results showed that both Zara and Ket were much healthier than they had been weeks ago. Reed was very suspicious. Someone has been giving them medical treatment, Reed said. I want security increased on this level immediately. and I want a full investigation into who has been accessing Level 7. After Reed left, Jake knew they were in serious trouble. The escape plan would have to happen sooner than planned. Jake contacted Pete and Maya. They moved the escape up to the next night during Pete's current supply run. "We're not ready," Maya said. "I haven't finished the false documentation." "We're out of time," Jake replied. "Reed knows someone is helping them. If we wait, they'll find us." That night, Jake went to see Zara and Ket one last time before the escape. He explained that they would have to leave tonight, earlier than planned. Zara understood. She had seen Reed's visit and knew what it meant. She was ready to use her powers to help them escape, even if it made her very weak. Jake looked at Ket, playing with his glowing toy. The little creature had no idea that his life was about to change forever. "Tomorrow, you'll be free," Jake told Zara in the simple Veltar words he had learned. Zara took Jake's hand through the cage bars. In her own language, she said something that Jake didn't understand, but he could hear the gratitude in her voice. Maya had done her best to prepare false documents. Kelly had finished the portable life support device. Pete had his ship ready for a quick departure. Everything depended on perfect timing and a lot of luck. If anything went wrong, they would all end up in prison. Or worse. But as Jake looked at Zara holding her child, he knew they had to try. Some things were more important than safety. Some things were worth any risk. The escape would begin in just a few hours. The escape began at midnight during the station's quietest hour. Jake made his way to Level 7 with Kelly's portable life support device and a small cart used for carrying maintenance equipment. When he reached the hidden room, Zara was ready. She had used small pieces of metal from her cage to create a device that would help her control the station's electrical systems. Her hands shook from weakness, but her yellow eyes were determined. "Ready?" Jake whispered. Zara nodded. She placed her hands on the device she had made and closed her eyes. Jake could see electricity dancing around her fingers. Suddenly, lights began flickering throughout the station. Computer screens went dark, then came back on. Emergency alarms started beeping as the power grid struggled to stay stable. Jake used his maintenance codes to open the cage lock during the power fluctuations. The electronic lock couldn't work properly while Zara was disrupting the electrical systems. Zara fell forward as soon as the cage door opened. Using her powers had taken almost all of her remaining strength. Jake caught her and quickly attached Kelly's life support device to her arm. "Mama?" Ket made worried sounds as he saw his mother collapse. Jake carefully lifted both Zara and Ket, placing them on the maintenance cart. Zara was conscious but very weak. She could barely keep her eyes open. The journey through the maintenance tunnels was the longest 20 minutes of Jake's life. He had to move slowly to avoid making noise, but he also had to hurry before the power system stabilized and the security cameras came back online. Kelly met them halfway to the cargo bay. She checked Zara's vital signs and adjusted the life support device. "She's stable, but barely," Kelly whispered. "We need to get her medical treatment as soon as possible." Maya was waiting at the entrance to the cargo bay. She had convinced the loading crew to take an extended break, giving them a clear path to Pete's ship. Pete was loading fake cargo containers when they arrived. His eyes widened when he saw Zara and Ket for the first time. "Jesus, Jake," Pete said quietly. "She looks like she's dying." "She's strong," Jake said. "Stronger than she looks." They quickly moved Zara and Ket into Pete's ship. Jake had prepared a small medical area in the cargo hold with everything they would need for the journey. As Pete prepared for departure, Maya gave him the false documentation she had created. "This shows that you're making an emergency medical supply run to the colony at Ross 248, she said. "It should buy you some time." Just as Pete was about to launch, the station's security alarms started blaring. Red lights flashed throughout the docking bay. "They know," Kelly said, her face pale with fear. Through the ship's communications system, they heard Dr. Reed's angry voice. "Security alert. The alien subjects have been stolen from Level 7. Lock down all docks immediately. No ships are authorized to leave." Pete's hands moved quickly over the ship's controls. Hold on, everyone, we're leaving now. The Northern Star launched just as security doors began closing around the docking bay. Pete had to fly through a gap that was getting smaller every second. They made it out, but Jake knew their troubles. We're just beginning. Reed would call for military support, and there would be warships chasing them within hours. As Pete set course for the edge of the solar system, Jake sat with Zara and Ket in the cargo hold. Zara was sleeping, but her breathing was steady. Ket was awake, looking around at his new surroundings with curious eyes. "Jack?" Ket said, reaching for Jake with tiny hands. It was the first time the baby had said his name. Jake felt his eyes fill with tears as he gently took Ket's small hand. 2 hours after they left the station, Pete's scanner detected 3 military interceptor ships approaching fast. "They're gaining on us," Pete called from the cockpit. "These guys are built for speed, not cargo hauling." Jake went to the cockpit and looked at the scanner. The 3 ships were closing in rapidly. In less than an hour, they would be within weapons range. "Can we outrun them?" Jake asked. "Not a chance," Pete said. "But I have a few tricks they don't know about." Pete began flying through an asteroid field, using the large rocks to hide from the interceptor's sensors. It worked for a while, but the military ships were too fast and had better equipment. The lead interceptor caught up first. Its pilot's voice came over the radio. "Cargo ship Northern Star, this is Captain Roy Brooks of the UES Falcon. You are ordered to stop immediately and prepare to be boarded." Pete looked at Jake. "What do you want to do?" Jake thought about Zara and Ket in the cargo hold. If they were captured now, Reed would make sure they disappeared forever. "Keep flying," Jake said. Captain Brooks tried again. "Northern Star, you are carrying stolen military assets. Surrender now and you will be treated fairly." This time, Jake answered the radio call himself. "Captain Brooks, this is Jake Morrison. We're not carrying stolen assets. We're carrying a mother and her sick baby who have been tortured for 2 years. Mr. Morrison, you are misinformed about the nature of the subjects. They are dangerous alien prisoners of war." "The dangerous one is a baby who can barely walk," Jake said. "Captain, I'm sending you video files. Look at what Dr. Reed has been doing on that station." Jake transmitted some of the videos he had recorded of Zara and Ket in their cage. There was a long silence on the radio. When Captain Brooks spoke again, his voice was different, less certain. "Mr. Morrison, even if what you're showing me is true, you have stolen classified materials and violated multiple security protocols." "Captain, have you ever been a parent?" Jake asked. Another long silence, then, "I have 2 children." "Then you understand. If your children were locked in a cage for 2 years, wouldn't you want someone to help them?" Before Captain Brooks could answer, a new voice came on the radio. It was Dr. Reed. "Captain Brooks, you are not authorized to have conversations with the criminals. Destroy that ship immediately." "Doctor, my orders are to recover the subjects, not to destroy them," Captain Brooks replied. "The subjects are contaminated and dangerous." Reed said, "They must not be allowed to reach Veltar space. Destroy the ship now." Jake realized that Reed was willing to kill everyone to hide his crimes, even if it meant destroying valuable alien prisoners. But Reed's desperation gave Jake an idea. He activated the ship's general broadcast system so that all 3 military ships could hear him. "All military personnel, Dr. Alex Reed has been conducting illegal experiments on prisoners of war. He has been torturing a mother and child for 2 years, and now he wants to murder them to cover up his crimes." Jake transmitted all of his evidence to the military ships. Videos of Zara and Ket in their cage, medical records showing their treatment, and documentation of Reed's experiments. "These files prove that Dr. Reed is a war criminal," Jake continued. "He's not trying to protect classified materials. He's trying to hide evidence of torture and murder." There was chaos on the military radio channels. Jake could hear different officers arguing with each other. Captain Brooks finally spoke again. "Dr. Reed, I'm looking at evidence of serious violations of the laws of war. I cannot carry out orders to destroy potential witnesses to war crimes." "Captain Brooks, you are in violation of your orders," Reed said angrily. "My orders are to serve humanity and protect the innocent," Brooks replied. "Not to cover up torture." The 3 interceptors stopped chasing Pete's ship. Instead, they formed a protective formation around the Northern Star. "Mr. Morrison," Captain Brooks said over the radio, I'm ordering my ships to escort you safely to the border of Veltar space. Jake felt relief flood through him. But he knew they weren't safe yet. Reed still had powerful friends, and there would be consequences for everyone involved. As they approached the border of Veltar space, Jake went back to check on Zara and Ket. Zara was awake now, looking out of a small window at the stars. "Home?" she asked in simple English. "Home," Jake confirmed. Zara took Jake's hand and squeezed it gently. She said something in her own language that sounded like a blessing. Ket was playing with his glowing toy, making happy sounds. For the first time in his short life, he was truly free. But as they crossed into Veltar space, Jake knew the real challenge was just beginning. The Veltar people had never seen a human before. They had no reason to trust the species that had imprisoned one of their own. Jake was about to become the first human to enter Veltar territory. He had no idea if he would ever see Earth again. But as he looked at Zara and Ket, healthy and free, he knew he had made the right choice. Some things were worth any sacrifice. The Veltar border patrol ships appeared within minutes of the Northern Star crossing into their space. Jake counted at least 6 vessels, all sleek and fast, surrounding Pete's cargo ship with weapons ready. A voice came over the radio, speaking in the musical language of the Veltar. Jake didn't understand the words, but the tone was clearly a warning to stop immediately. Zara struggled to sit up in her medical bed. She was still very weak, but her yellow eyes were alert and focused. She gestured for Jake to help her to the radio. "Let me talk to them," she said in her careful English. Jake helped Zara to the cockpit where Pete was trying to communicate with the Veltar ships. When Zara spoke into the radio in her own language, there was immediate silence from the patrol ships. The conversation that followed was long and emotional. Jake could hear the surprise and disbelief in the Veltar voices when they realized who was speaking. Zara had been declared dead 2 years ago. Her sudden appearance, especially with humans, was shocking to her people. Zara explained everything that had happened. Jake could understand some of her words now, enough to know she was telling them about the cage, about Dr. Reed's experiments, and about the humans who had helped her escape. When she finished speaking, there was a long silence. Then one of the Veltar ships moved closer. Its captain spoke in heavily accented English. "Human ship, we will escort you to our medical facility. The mother and child need immediate treatment." Jake felt a wave of relief, but also fear. What would happen to him and Pete once they reached the Veltar world? Would they be seen as kidnappers or as rescuers? The journey to the Veltar medical station took 6 hours. During that time, Jake learned more about Zara's past. She had been married to a diplomat named Thekra who was trying to establish peaceful relations between humans and Veltar. They had been traveling to a neutral meeting point when their ship was attacked during the border conflict. Thekra had been killed immediately, but Zara was taken prisoner. The official reports said she had died too, but Dr. Reed had secretly kept her alive for his experiments. When they arrived at the medical station, Jake was amazed by what he saw. The Veltar buildings were beautiful, made of materials that seemed to glow with their own light. Everything was designed to work with energy in ways that human architecture never considered. Veltar medical staff came aboard the Northern Star immediately. They were gentle with Zara and Ket, but they watched Jake and Pete with suspicious eyes. The lead doctor, whose name sounded like Miran, spoke to Jake in careful English. "You are the human who helped Zareth escape?" "Yes," Jake said. "Along with my friends, we couldn't let her die in that cage." Miran studied Jake for a long time. "Why did you risk everything for strangers? For aliens?" Jake thought about the question. "Because it was right. Because Zara is a mother trying to protect her child. That's something any species should understand." The doctor nodded slowly. "You will wait here while we treat Zareth and Ketra. Then the council will decide what to do with you." Jake and Pete waited in a small room for hours. They could see Veltar medical staff working on Zara and Ket through a window. The technology they used was far more advanced than anything Jake had seen. Finally, Miran returned. "Zareth and Ketra will recover completely," she said, "but it will take time. 2 years of imprisonment and malnutrition have done serious damage. Can we see them? Jake asked. Zareth has requested to speak with you. The council has agreed to allow this. Jake found Zara in a medical bed that seemed to be made of the same glowing material as the buildings. She looked better already, her scales brighter, and her eyes clearer. Ket was sleeping in a small bed next to her, breathing easily for the first time since Jake had found them. Jek, Zara said when she saw him. She struggled to find the right English words. Thank you, you saved us. You don't need to thank me, Jake said. I did what anyone should do. No, Zara said firmly. Not anyone would do this. You risked everything. Your freedom, your life. For strangers, for aliens. Zara took Jake's hand, in her scaled fingers. My people want to know why humans helped me. They think maybe it is a trick, a way to gain information about us. Jake felt worried. What did you tell them? I told them the truth, that humans are not all the same. Some humans like Dr. Reed are evil, but some humans like you are good. Very good. A new voice spoke from the doorway. Is this the human who rescued you, Zareth? Jake turned to see a tall Veltar wearing elaborate robes. This was clearly someone. Very important. Council Leader Vectar, Zara said respectfully. This is Jake Morrison. He is the one who found me and organized our escape. Vectar approached Jake slowly, studying him with large golden eyes. You are the first human to enter our space, Jake Morrison. In different circumstances, this would mean death for you. Jake felt his heart racing, but he tried to stay calm. I understand. I knew the risk when I came here. Yet you came anyway. To ensure that Zareth and Ketra received proper medical treatment. Yes. Vectar was quiet for a long moment. Then he said, Our people have debated what to do about humans for many years. Some believe you are too dangerous to allow near our worlds. Others believe you might be potential allies. What do you believe? Jake asked. I believe that any species capable of producing both Dr. Reed and Jake Morrison is worth understanding better. Vectar turned to Zara. Tell me again what happened during your escape. Zara told the story once more, this time in more detail. She explained how Jake had risked his job and his freedom to bring her food and medicine. How Kelly had provided medical treatment that saved Ket's life. How Maya had helped gather evidence of Dr. Reed's crimes. How Pete had risked his ship and his freedom to carry them to safety. And Captain Brooks, Gerdigan Vectar asked, the human military officer who protected you during your escape? He chose to help us instead of following Dr. Reed's orders, Jake said. He's probably facing charges right now for disobeying orders. Vectar nodded slowly. Interesting. So there are humans in your military who will choose morality over orders. The good ones will, Jake said. We have been monitoring your communications, Vector said. Dr. Reed has been arrested. The human called Maya Soto provided evidence of his crimes to your Captain Harper. There will be a trial. Jake felt relief flood through him. What about Kelly? And Pete? Are they in trouble? Captain Brooks has testified that they were acting to prevent war crimes. They are considered heroes, not criminals. Vectar walked to the window and looked out at the stars. Jake Morrison, your actions have created a problem for both our species. You have proven that humans are capable of great compassion, but also great cruelty. How can we know which kind of human we are dealing with? Jake thought carefully before answering. You can't know for sure. Just like I couldn't know for sure that you wouldn't kill me when I brought Zara home. But sometimes you have to take risks for the right reasons. And what would you consider the right reasons for our species to trust each other? Jake looked at Ket sleeping peacefully in his bed. Because children like Ket deserve to grow up in a universe where different species help each other instead of hurting each other. Vectar smiled, the first time Jake had seen a Veltar express happiness. That is a good answer, Jake Morrison. 3 months later, Jake stood on the observation deck of a new kind of space station. It was built with both human and Veltar technology, a symbol of cooperation between the species. Jake was no longer a maintenance worker. He was now the first human Veltar cultural exchange officer, a position that had been created specifically for him. His job was to help both species understand each other better. Zara worked beside him as the Veltar Cultural Exchange Officer. She had recovered completely from her imprisonment and was healthier than ever. She was also working with human and Veltar engineers to develop new technologies that combined the best of both species' knowledge. Ket was growing fast and learning both human and Veltar customs. He played with children from both species and spoke both languages fluently. To him, the differences between humans and Veltar were just interesting facts, not reasons for fear or hatred. Pete had been given a new ship, specially designed for diplomatic missions between human and Veltar worlds. Kelly had been promoted to head of alien medical research, but the ethical kind that helped people instead of hurting them. Maya had become the director of interspecies biology studies. Captain Brooks now commanded a joint human-Veltar patrol unit that protected the border region where the two species' territories met. He worked closely with Veltar officers to prevent the kind of conflicts that had led to Zara's imprisonment. As for Dr. Reed, he had been convicted of war crimes and sentenced to life in prison. His illegal research had been completely shut down, and new laws had been passed to prevent such crimes from happening again. One evening, Jake was playing a simple human card game with Ket when Zara joined them. She had been learning human games as part of her cultural exchange duties. "Jack," Ket said in his mixture of English and Veltar, "when I grow up, I want to help people like you did." Jake smiled and ruffled the young Veltar's head scales. "That's the best thing anyone could want to do, little guy." Zara looked at Jake with gratitude that had never faded. "He is right to want to be like you. You showed both our species what we could be at our